Hello and welcome to the Back Nine Report, where every week we dig into the world of golf and bring you the latest news, the hot takes, and here we are for you. My name is Carlos Torres. I'm always with Fred Alvader. Fred, hi, how are you today?
Carlos, I'm okay. The only problem is I'm back in Ohio,
Uh,
and the high today was like 16. And I'm coming out of Florida when I was in the 80s, swimming every day. This is a real shock to the body, but we'll muddle through. We'll make it. Hey, Carlos, I want to mention just a couple real quick things before we get into tonight's topic. The TGL, is really getting hot right now. There were three matches yesterday on Monday on the holiday. There was one match tonight going on right now, a Tigers team and the New York team going on right now as we're taping this on Tuesday evening. And the numbers are still pretty good for the TGL. And I think that the product is getting much better. I watched the whole last match on Monday night, last night, and it was very, very good. And all three matches were all decided by 1 point, and the hammer got used a lot, so there was a lot more excitement. The players were involved; you could tell they were more excited. They're into their element now. They know what they're looking for, what they're trying to do. So it's really getting to be a much better product. If you haven't watched it, I'd urge you. The finals are going to be coming up on March 24th and 25th. So LIV, the ratings were terrible for the first tournament of the year held in Saudi Arabia 2 weeks ago. They did see an uptick last week for the event in Australia. The Nielsen ratings reported that the average viewer count for the first round stood a much improved 114,000 on Fox as England's Sam Horsfield took the lead. So that was much better. It's still nowhere near what they need, though. I mean, they need to get out an audience of at least 500,000 to a million. They should be drawing a million people on Fox, I would think. That's still a pretty small audience for those people. But so if they're only drawing 100 and some thousand, they only drew what 24,000 for the first event in Saudi Arabia. They only draw 114,000 last week. They still got a long ways to go. So the other thing I want to mention about LIV, Carlos, we're seeing a lot more smoke on this agreement between the LIV and the PGA Tour. I think something's going to be coming down the road sooner than later. It looks like to me.
Seems like it. I mean, Tiger mentioned it that he's looking forward to something happening, and he actually lauded Jay Monahan and Adam Scott by taking that meeting with Donald Trump. So, I think regarding to the LIV ratings, you have to give it's like the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup. It's something that was established already. You can't expect those ratings just to be that big, just starting right off the bat. So it's something that it'll grow. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, today we're going to be diving into one of the hottest debates in golf. Who, if anyone, is the next Tiger Woods? His impact on the sport is undeniable. But with superstars emerging, the big question is, can any of them dominate the game the way that he did? We're going to talk a little bit about Scotty Scheffler, Ludwig Aberg, and Tom King, plus other names that are either rising or are there or have been some what if. But talking about Tiger, I mean, to me, that is an unmatched legacy. He sets the bar. Okay, 15 major championships, 82 PGA Tour wins. That's tied for most all time. 683 weeks as the world number one. He had the Tiger Slam, what we call the Tiger Slam. He didn't hold all four majors during 1 year, but he did won them all four in a row. And he had an unprecedented dominance in the early 2000s. So the key question is, can anyone match this level of dominance in the modern era? So we're going to start talking about Scotty Scheffler. Is he the closest thing to Tiger right now? I mean, if we talk about him, he has dominance over the last 2 years. He's been the world number one, held it for nearly 2 full years. 2022 Masters champion, sees his first major in dominant fashion. 2023 and 2024, he has been the dominant player too. I mean, he won the Players Championship, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the Masters again in 2024. He's had multiple five-stroke victories or more in elite fields, not against small competition. And Fred, he has insane ball striking and consistency, reminiscent of peak Tiger Woods. What I think it looks some traits on him he has unshakable game and clutch putting to me. Unbelievable consistency, top 10 in nearly every event he plays. He's cashing. He's like an ATM and overwhelmingly dominant stroke gain stats. So, Fred, if he keeps winning at this pace, could Scotty be the first in the modern era to rack up double-digit majors or maybe challenge to be Tiger?
Well, he's going to have to win some majors other than the Masters. So we got to get going there. He's got two Masters, but he needs some other stuff, and he's got players in there. I want to just set this up too, Carlos. Tiger was a generational talent, and except for not reaching Jack Nicklaus's 18 major championship titles, that's about the only goal that he did not reach. As you mentioned, most wins ever, most money, most everything else that you want to consider. Um, but someone like Tiger Woods does not come along very often. And I don't see anyone right at the minute that's in his league, but there are a few young players that may have the capability to dominate and have long careers. But I like to look back. We started watching Tiger as a child. And then he burst on the scene with 3 junior amateurs and then 3 consecutive amateur championship titles. So 6 years in a row, he won the USGA's National Amateur Championship. That for his age group, and that's nobody's ever done that. I mean, the most anybody ever was 2 U.S. amateurs, and nobody's ever going to do that like Tiger did it ever. But I look back at Scotty. If he keeps winning at the pace he's winning, um, yeah, he could win a lot more majors. He can win a lot more tournaments. He can make a lot more money. And I think he's going to win more majors. I don't know. He's got several years yet, but he needs to be winning about a major a year at least to try to get up to that level. Because as you get past 35, they tend to get a lot harder to win. As you mentioned, he's got all the criteria. 8 wins last year, plus the Olympic gold medal. I mean, what a year! Tiger, we saw him win multiple events in a year, multiple times. Um, so he's got 13 wins. 8 of those came last year. He's dominated golf for the last 3 years. And if he can continue at the pace for another couple years, he can be maybe in the conversation, but he's not there yet, in my mind, Carlos.
It definitely is not, but it reminds you of that dominance. Nobody else has dominated golf recently as he has done it. I mean, not even Rory McIlroy. No one else has really been that consistent and keep the number one for that long so far. He's got ways to go to even try to challenge those number ones from Tiger Woods, but hey, it's good for conversation. He's the dominant player right now. Maybe it's not the closest, it's the closest active to it. But there's another European rising star. And we've been on this guy since he started popping into the European tour. And is he the next European superstar? We're talking about Ludwig Aberg. He's a rising force. We saw him in the 2023 Ryder Cup. That debut, she shined under pressure. He dominated with Victor Hovland. They look invincible there. He won the 2023 RSM Classic in his rookie year. I mean, he has elite ball striking stats. Often he gets compared on those stats to Tiger at the start of his career. So there's some liking there. But what makes him special? To me, he has effortless power and precision of the tee. Oh my goodness. He is poised under pressure. And he shows so much maturity beyond his years. Fred, could he be the next year dominant European player to take over the world stage?
Well, I would say he's the next dominant European player for sure. And again, Tiger, we started watching him at a young age. And so Ludwig is, he's very young at this point. He's 25 years old, so barely out of a college age kid. But before turning professional, he was number 1 in the amateur golf rankings for 29 weeks. He won. He finished on the top of the 2022 PGA Tour University rankings to earn his full membership on the PGA Tour right off the bat. Didn't have to go to the Korn Ferry Tour. And within 5 months of turning pro, he won victories on both the European Tour and the PGA Tour, and was a member of the winning European Tour Ryder Cup team in 2023. So he's all the way up to number 4 in the world golf ranking. And also, Aberg, as an amateur, won the Ben Hogan Award twice. Okay. He won the Haskins and the Nicklaus Awards as collegiate player and was number 1 ranked amateur, as I mentioned. So he's won twice on the PGA Tour, the 23 RSM and the 2025 Jenison just last week, actually, at Torrey Pines. And he also has 1 win on the DP World Tour and 2 Swedish Tour wins. So, oh yeah, and he does have a runner-up at the Masters, but excuse me, didn't quite get the win, but played really, really well at Augusta. And Carlos, he is a guy who is built for Augusta National. He's going to win. I will go on limb. He's going to win multiple green jackets in his career. This guy has the game for Augusta National for sure. And the other thing is he's unbelievably consistent. In 40 starts, he's made 35 cuts with 10 top 5 finishes. Those numbers are Tiger-esque for sure. The question to me is, can he maintain that pace over a number of years?
Yeah, that's definitely the key. So far, we've seen a lot of stars flame out after a few years, and that's what really makes Tiger's dominance and legacy so incredible, right? But Ludwig definitely, so far, so good. We don't know. We have to see, but definitely, I also think you mentioned he's built for the Masters. I think he's also built for the US Open. I see him contending in the US Open. I think he has the perfect game for it as well. So I look forward to seeing him in the Masters pretty soon, and then in the US Open a little bit later. But definitely he can be.
One more point I want to make before we leave Auberg. He has a demeanor. His attitude is excellent. He doesn't get too worried about a bad shot. He just steps up, he plays fast, makes up his mind, and goes. I really like that about him, Carlos.
Definitely. Another player, and I know this one may have come out of the clouds for you and a lot of people. To me, is another player that, like a Berg, I've been following for a little while already, and he's Tom Kim. He's the youngest player since Tiger Woods to win twice before turning 21. He had an electrifying President's Cup debut. He showed a flair for the dramatic. Okay. He won at the Shriners Open and the Wyndham Championship. To me, if you ask me, hey, but Carlos, hey, what makes him special? He has an incredible short game and scrambling ability. I mean, he is fantastic at those two. I also, when I see his showmanship and energy that captivates fan, that's Tiger-like. I'm not saying he plays like Tiger, but if you want to see somebody trying to captivate the fans like Tiger did, the closest so far is Tom Kim. And if he continues on this path, could he be the global face of golf? What you think, Fred?
Well, he's only 22 years old. He just turned pro in 2018. Didn't join the PGA Tour until 2022. So we really only have a couple years of information for him and his short history with him. Like I say, he's still very young. He already has 3 PGA Tour wins and just 73 starts. And he's made his 58 cuts. So 58 over 73, that's a pretty good percentage. That is impressive. He also has 3 Asian Tour and 2 Korean Tour and 2 Philippine Tour wins. So he's got 7 wins. He knows how to win. He is a winner, and he does play with emotion. He's exciting to watch. Fans love him. He is a future star, no question about it. Is he going to get in the Tiger land of wins and majors? I don't think so. I think he's a very nice player. He's exciting to watch. I see him getting maybe 20 wins over the course of his career and maybe 1 or 2 majors, but that's about all that I see for him, Carlos.
All right. I mean, this top 3 that we have talked about, and we're going to mention a little bit more other players now, but to me, the way I saw them is like each one of them gives me something of Tiger. If I put them all 3 together, that's what I look for. and like the Tiger one that it is. But we're gonna mention some other names, either rising names to watch or some other players that are right now, and you can see, hey, maybe those are the almost runner-ups here for me. And I'm gonna start by Victor Hovland. I call him the inevitable major winner. I mean, he has a major in his future. He's the 2023 FedEx Cup champion, multiple top five finishes in majors, and one of the best ball strikers in the game. The second one that I'm going to mention is one of your players, that's Colin Morikawa. He's the major machine. Already a two-time major championship at just age 27. He won the 2020 PGA Championship, the 2021 Open. He has unbelievable iron play, reminiscent of Tiger's position. Unbelievable. Could be the most overlooked potential superstar to me. That's Colin Morikawa. Then I have Rory McIlroy. Can he still cement the Tiger-like legacy? He has been the closest so far, at least on the star power. And not only that, he's an incredible player. When he's on, I think he's still no one like him. He's a four-time major winner. Unfortunately, he hasn't won one in 10 years, and he's still looking for that elusive Masters. He's still one of the most talented players on the tour. If he gets another couple of majors, could he enter the GOAT conversation? I don't know. He's still young enough to be able to win some more majors. And if he actually puts it all together, who knows? He might be that one that we may call the next Tiger Woods, Fred.
Carlos, to add to your point there, Rory, in 2019, Rory was by far the number one player in the world. In a stretch of 8 tournaments, I think he won like 4 or 5 of them, and he never finished outside the top 5. That was the peak. Then COVID hit, and he never came. When he came back, he was just never the same player. But he's getting very close to that right now, Carlos. I think we're going to see a very big year out of Rory McIlroy. I really do. I think he may get his Masters win this year that he needs to close out his career Grand Slam. He might even win another major in there. So I look for a very big year because he seems focused and ready to play. Every time I see him, I've been watching him in this TGL stuff, and he looks very good to me. Just very solid. His iron play is much improved. Colin Morikawa, I also had him on my list, Carlos, so I'm not going to add any more because he's one of my favorite guys for sure. I think he's a real nice player. He's still a young guy. He is 28 now, so he's got another 10, 12 years yet of really productive years. So he's got a while. And with his swing and with what he does, I think he's going to win a bunch of times. But Tiger, I doubt it. One of the guys, Xander Schauffele, who's just so unbelievably consistent, always playing at a high level. In 185 starts, he's made 162 cuts. He's only missed 23 cuts. That's unbelievable. Nobody does that. He has 15 runners up along with 65 top 10s in 162 cuts made. That's phenomenal. So he's consistent. He's won 2 majors. He's on the everybody's radar. He's a good player. But again, he's not in Tigerland. The guy that intrigues me, Carlos, that I just don't know where to put him is Bryson DeChambeau. He's on the LIV, right? But he comes and plays in the majors. He's won 2 U.S. Opens. I mean, very few guys do that. Hale Irwin, Curtis Strange. There's a small handful of Andy North. There's a small handful of guys that wins a couple of U.S. Opens and nothing else. I just don't think Bryson DeChambeau is one of those guys. I think he's going to win a bunch more majors. I really do, with his length and now his new attitude where it's fan friendly and he's open to the press. And I really like this Bryson DeChambeau 2.0. I think he's got a bright 3.0. Okay. So that might be. But when we get him back to the PGA Tour, I think that's going to be a really good thing for everybody, for the tour and for Bryson. A guy that's probably pushing past, we can't really call him a young guy, Brooks Koepka, but the guy's got 5 majors. Okay. A couple more, and he's up there in Neverland. There's very few people up in that kind of stratosphere. So he's a guy to definitely keep an eye on. And, you know, the only thing that matters to him is the majors. He gets into those. I mean, he could have 6 majors because he should have won the Masters, right? He gave that away, turned around and won the PGA, but he could have won that Masters along to go with that. So I'm going to give you two. Carlos, I really think if we're going to see somebody, it's going to have to be somebody that we don't know yet. There are two really good young guys out there, and I'm talking 15 and 16 years old, okay? Blades Brown. He was a co-medalist of the 2023 U.S. Amateur. He broke Bobby Jones's 103-year-old record to become the youngest medalist in the U.S. Amateur history. He's always ahead of he shot a 64-69 as an 8th grader, okay, in a high school match. He's now 17, skipped college to turn professional. In his debut as a pro at the American Express this year, he had a 64, which is the third lowest in PGA Tour event by a player under the age of 18 in past 40 years. But he made the cut. He didn't play well the second round, but made the cut. And so Blades Brown is somebody to keep an eye on. He's a very young guy, and he just turned pro. So if somebody he seems to have the desire. I would love to see him go to college for a year or two, but you know, oh well. And then the other guy I'm going to mention is Miles Russell. We've talked about him in the past. He is a winner. He won both the Junior PGA Championship and the Junior Players to become the youngest player ever to win the AJGA's Rolex Junior Player of the Year. If you win something the AJGA, you're pretty good. Okay. He and Tiger are the only players to win that prestigious award before turning 16. He closed out 2023 in spectacular fashion. He had a 60 at the South Beach International Amateur, and finishing runner-up to the U.S. Walker Cup, Ben James. So he already has an NIL deal in place. He's a high school freshman or sophomore, right? And he's the youngest player ever to make a cut on the Korn Ferry Tour event. So, Carlos, there's a couple of really young guys. If you want to talk about guys that have Tiger potential, these two are the guys that we're looking at right now. And the other guys we mentioned, yeah, possibly, but they're not there by any measure yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. And our track record here is that we present the players when nobody else have seen them yet. And that's Miles Russell and Blades Brown. So we'll see what those two names bring in. And I have to agree with you. I think it has to be somebody that we haven't seen yet because we already have seen what these players that we have talked about. I don't think anyone may truly replicate Tiger's career. The talent pool today is deeper than ever. Could we see some of those names dominate the way they did, or simply golf evolved past one man dominance? I think we have. We'll see. Time will tell. But right now, I don't see any of the actual current ones actually reaching that plateau. Maybe those two that you mentioned. Yes, we'll look at it and we'll see. Any final thoughts, Fred?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I don't believe any of these guys are going to be the next Tiger Woods. We're not going to see that guy for maybe a little bit yet. They're all very talented. I just don't see the passion for the desire to win. You know, Tiger wanted to win at all costs. He wanted to beat you into the ground. These guys are all too nice. They're all buddies. Tiger wasn't a buddy with anybody. Not until the last 7, 8, 10 years when he, you know, basically was at the tail end of his career. He was on his own and he was out to beat you. And we don't see anybody like that out there right now. Like I say, these guys are all pretty friendly with each other. And Rory, he's the guy. Okay. If you told me I had to pick one guy who was in that category, Rory would be that guy. But he's had this big drought, and he's going to have to start winning stuff in bunches because he's getting a little bit older now. You can see the gray even on his temples, right? So he doesn't have that much longer. He's got to start winning at least one and maybe 2 majors a year, or like over the next 5 years, he's got to win about 6 majors to even get to where he needs to be. And that might be a tall task for him. So we're talking about a generational talent. Tiger's career has spanned more than 30 years. Plus, he became noticed as a young amateur clear back in the 80s. Kepka messed up his legacy by going to the LIV. DeChambeau has 2 US Opens. He's young enough, and it comes back to PGA Tour, could dominate. I'm not convinced he has the mental mindset and the single-minded purpose to win and the practice to do it. The guy that we are looking to follow in Tiger Woods' footsteps, or Ben Hogan, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, probably is not even born yet, but he's becoming. He's coming, Carlos. You can be sure of that. He's coming.
Well, see, I can't wait to see, if the LIV guys are back on the PGA Tour. I can't wait to see that because that definitely is going to bring all that back. And I would have to say a little bit about Bryson. I do think he has that mentality to win. He has softened a little bit with the fans, but I do think he still has that I want to beat you attitude that not at the Tiger level, but he still has. And I think it's just a cultural generational thing now about being more buddy with everybody. It's just about sharing your moment, sharing your stage, and all that stuff. So I don't think we'll ever see that type of competition again. But anyway, let us know what you think. Who you think has the best chance to be the next dominant superstar? DM us, comment, or share your thoughts on our social pages. And if you haven't done so, follow the show and give us a like if you don't like this one. Thank you for joining us. Until the next one.